Okay, so as you look at the handout, the first page talks about the EBEs. It talks about the four principles of EBE, and that's detect, detach, release, and let go, and stay clear. So basically, in EBE, that's how the process works. Is that so? When I work with EarthBound and people who have EarthBound entities, but I always refer to it as working with the entities. Then first you have to detect to see if there's something there, and that's usually a process of I interview the person. They tell me, I ask them questions like, well, when did you first feel unusual? What occurred as that happened? Just before you start feeling weird, what happened? Because usually there's, I was in this car accident, or I had a fight with somebody, or there's something that made them vulnerable for an entity to be able to enter into their aura. And then so there's detect, detach. So then what I do is I speak with the entity, and then I interview the entity, and the process in that is a little bit of hypnosis, but you don't have to be a hypnotherapist to do the work. But the person, it's best when the person is relaxed so that they don't get, because you don't want them telling you what happened. You want the entity telling you, why did they attack this person? Why are they there? What is it they want? What will satisfy their needs for being attached to this person so that they can go on to the other side? Because that is really the way things are supposed to go. You're supposed to, when you die, you go to the other side, and then you come back and you reincarnate. And that's the process of the world. Not only this planet, but other planets too. So you can also think about you may reincarnate on another planet, but that's of course a different class. But the point is that it's the way of our species. When we die, we go to the light. We go to to the other side. It's like we go home, right? And then we come back, and we're gathering experiences for an energy forgotten, in a sense.
Corky, could you just give us a definition of what EarthBound Entity actually means?
Yeah. This EarthBound Entity. So with the protection is okay. EarthBound entities are when you die, your essence, your spirit, may stay earthbound, and there's a lot of reasons for that. It might be that you don't know you're dead. You might be frightened that you're going to go to hell. You might be addicted to something and you think that you can't get that if you go to the light. That you're not enlightened enough to know that it's time to go to the light. That you have things here on the earth that you need to finish. Or maybe somebody's asking you to stay. I've worked with clients that had, her mother asked her to, she asked her mother to stay. When her mother died, the mother stayed with her, and then she got a boyfriend, and the mother didn't like the boyfriend. And so then she came to me and said, can you get rid of my mother? So it was.
I still want the one that cleans house.
Yeah, that was a good one too. Yeah, so I had a client who was, she'd recovered from, she'd been in the emergency room for months. She had some sort of respiratory thing, and when she came out, she said, I'm smoking. I'm not supposed to be smoking, but I can't help it. It isn't me. I don't think I don't want to smoke, but there's something in there that wants to do it. And so I got in touch. So I did a light hypnosis, and I said I want to speak to the spirit. And it was so weird. She just sat up. She crossed her knees and crossed her arms, and she said, "What do you want? I like it here. I'm not going." Hi, Andrew. And so, but what the lady said before I hypnotized, she goes, "Are you going to get rid of all the spirits?" I said, "Well, that's the plan, because you're supposed to be the one. This is a free will planet, but you are the one that's supposed to be in there." And she goes, "Well, can I keep the one that likes to clean house?"
That's funny.
That's what Danny was referring to. And then another time I was working with a gal, and she goes, "Well, I know I have a lot of entities, but I'm in love with one of them, and one of them has promised to marry me. So, you know, that was an interesting case, because she didn't want the one that she liked to be done. And it's, anyway, so this is the work that I do with the entities, is detect, detach, release, and let go. And so, that is the premise that I'm using with the spirit, with the psychic protection, is that what you want to do is you want to see if there's something there. Of course, you want to protect yourself. It's so much easier to protect yourself than it is to get rid of something that you've already lost. So, you know, well, you want to keep your aura strong and keep yourself protected. So those are the things we're going to talk about today. But EarthBound Entity is so someone that hasn't gone on to the other side when their time, when it's their time to do it. And I teach a whole class on that too. So does that help you?
Yes.
Okay.
So you got me curious, so can you get rid of some and not others? I didn't, so
Yeah.
how did you handle that?
Which one?
Both the housekeeping and the
Oh.
love? How did you handle?
I talked him
both?
into to let it to going. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not. It takes your energy. It zaps your energy, because these earthbound entities are not. They're not enlightened, or they're not. They think they are, but really, if they're not going on to the other side, they're sapping your energy. At the very least, they sap your energy, because they have no energy of their own.
Right.
So they're gonna drain you.
Mhm.
You know, that's,
From growing.
and it's not in your best interest to have that. Even if you know, some people go, well, maybe it's smarter. No, just because you're dead doesn't make them smarter.
Mhm.
And there's nothing that makes, because if they were smarter, they would go the other side, right?
Mhm.
And we found that when you're enlightened, it really is the image of being lighter.
Mhm.
Enlightened is, and then you know, it's like you can't help but go to the light, because the more enlightened you are, the lighter you are.
Mhm.
And the less enlightened you are, and the people that would choose to stay on earthbound are dense.
Mhm.
You know, and all the definitions of dense. You know, and they're sticky, they're gooey, they're heavy, their energy is, you know, like their aura is vibrating at like, well, let's say, if you're vibrating at 1,000 cycles per second, and we'll say that's an excellent vibratory rate for you to stay clear and so that nothing can penetrate your aura. They'd be vibrating at like maybe 100, 200. And so once you lower your auric field, you know, through depression or there's a myriad of things that can lower your aura and cause your vibration to lower. And then if you get down to like 200 cycles per second, then it's like water. You know, water will, if there's, you'll seek its level. So if this is vibrating at 200 cycles, this is vibrating at 200 cycles, you're permeable. And these spirits, then they really can't help but get in. You could be walking along, I mean, they're around us all the time, they're around us right now. And so if you could be walking down the street and somebody jump out at you and you're frightened, and all of a sudden your aura lowers, and they're just walking behind you, and you stop, they don't, you got it. Yep, they're there. And it could be that, just a shock. There's so many things that just lower your auric field just instantly. And those are the kind of things that we need to build up a resistance to, you know, that you don't lose that, your aura just because you're shocked. That's the kind of, I'm going to teach you some exercises today to help you do that. So Jonathan, do you want another little table, or do you want to move your table over, or? There you are. Keep eye contact with everybody.
Which way should I move?
No, you're ready.
Okay.
Stay there. You're dead. So, but one of the things that this first sheet, oh, okay, so with the, that's what we're gonna kind of work on, that's gonna be a loose, tenant, you know, we're gonna say, okay, is it, we're gonna detach, release, and stay clear. That's gonna be part of what we're working on, you know, just to kind of give us an outline. Okay, so, I'm talking about the aura. The aura is one of your A+ #1 resistance, protection from any kind of spirit attachment. So you know that's what we're going to be talking about today, is spirit attachment, that you don't want anything that's going to, you know, anything that's dead or alive to throw negative energy at you. Because we all know what that causes, right? It causes illness, it causes depression, it causes suicide, it causes...
Fear, anxiety,
Yeah,
illness.
there's a list, signs of psychic attack, it's on page 10 and 11. And that's the short list, you know, that's just, anything that could go wrong can be caused by psychic attack. And so it's something that nobody wants.
But that's Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will.
Pretty much. And the thing about a psychic attack is that it can come from anywhere. You can even attack yourself. We attack each other all the time. My mother used to say, you know, she'd be talking, she goes, well, that's stupid. And, you know, I said, please don't say that I'm stupid. She goes, you're not stupid. I didn't say that you're stupid. I said, but my subconscious mind doesn't know that you're talking in relative terms. And she goes, that's stupid.
That sounds familiar.
And she slowed down, but she never stopped. You know, it was just, for her, it was just the same. But, you know, the people around her, you know, she had set up some sort of an agreement with her subconscious mind. But, you know, I didn't get that agreement. The people around her didn't get that agreement. And those people of her age group were kind of, that's the way they spoke to each other. You know, sometimes you do this kind of teasing thing and you put each other down, and I don't know if that's, I don't know, that just doesn't seem safe to me. Because how much do you know that they don't mean it? Your subconscious mind, you know, do you ever think, I wonder if they really do think that I'm, whatever, short, fat, no. I mean, I am, but do you think I am? You know, I don't know, you know, or not smart enough, or not, you know, because you're a certain gender, or a certain race, or a certain age, or, you know. Did you get one of the?
I did, thank you.
And so it's just, it's best if you don't be mean to people. Because remember, this reflects on you too. Is that if you're able to do that, then, I don't know, what is your mental process? I don't know, but I know that's a way that some people communicate. You know, that's the way they kind of like, you know, punch in the arm and that sort of thing, and that's the only way that they can, that's it, you know, kind of like, I love you, man, and so that's, you know, that's why I'm telling you this way, I'm saying these things.
I grew up.
Yeah, I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you think that that's, in your society and in your world, is it, do people say mean things to each other or cutting things to each other, and you know that it's a tease?
To me, it was the way of the passing generation. My mother did that, all of their relatives did that, and they thought it was clever to be really mouthy and to hurt people.
Yeah,
But,
hurtful.
I mean, you grow up and you find out that's not clever, that's only mean.
Yeah.
And doing that doesn't help anyone.
Oh, and the old, oh, I only meant it. I mean, I was only kidding, right?
Yeah.
Well, no.
Oh, it was a joke.
I think
Well,
just kidding
yeah.
usually means they're not.
Yeah.
It's part of the dinosaur generation, they're leaving.
Yeah, and I hope that's getting picked up by the younger people. I don't know.
Sarcasm
The young
has been
people
big
have
in
their
my
own
family.
thing too.
Pardon me?
The young people have their own thing where
Yeah, they do.
different generations don't understand it and they can take it offensively very easily.
That's true.
So what do you do about it when someone treats you?
You try to have an open mind and try not to take anything personally.
I think you have to ask questions. Did you really mean that when you said that? Because I've actually done that with somebody and said, you know, what I heard you say was this. Is that your intent? And I go, oh, no, that wasn't what I meant at all. What I meant was this, you know. So you have to, I think sometimes words come out of our mouths.
You
Yeah,
need to call them on it.
you have to, and, you know, that's part of the 4 agreements. Don't assume. You know, I grew up in a very sarcastic family. My family, very, very sarcastic all the time. And when I was younger, it hurt a lot. I mean, you know about my little injured Annie, and, you know, and when my brother and I got older and we finally came to understand each other, he would say things to me, but when he would say them to me, he would, you know, if we were in person, he'd be sitting there going, wait, you know, I'm only kidding kind of thing. And I could feel the difference. Like when he did mean it in a way that was hurtful, I felt the hurt. When he meant it in a way that was levity, I could feel the levity. And the hurting stopped as we got older,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah, and there's this thing that they call a frenemy.
Yeah, friend of me, friend of me.
Somebody who can, you know, keep your enemies closer.
It's called Facebook.
Oh,
Yeah.
good one, yeah. Yeah.
I want to say something, because it's been happening to me over the past couple of days. I've been feeling attacked verbally by people's comments and stuff, and it's like, I don't feel this way, you know, and it can affect me what somebody says, and so I'm open to a level of humility to be able to change, but sometimes it's just downright mean. And I don't see myself that way. I'm like this happy little bubble, and somebody comes and tries to burst all my little happy bubbles. And I'm like, wow, you know, that was brutal. But I mean, where are you coming from with that? That's not the person that I try to be. I don't try to put out that kind of energy to people. I want to be more positive and lifting people up and seeing them for who they are and not trying to break them down. But then if I need work and there's something I need to change and somebody points that out, I need to be open to look at that even if it hurts.
Right, right.
There are some people that can't stand other people being happy.
True.
That too.
Yeah, so that might be where the psychic attack comes from. Yes, Jonathan?
I have a question. I went to a sermon, and the pastor said that happiness doesn't equal righteousness. There's a difference between most people are seeking happiness, when truth they need to be seeking righteousness. I've never equaled as trying to become happy as being elevated, or as being a representation of the higher energy.
Yeah, it sounds like apples and oranges to me.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted a more clear definition from your take on that. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's being righteous.
That's ego.
It has a, yeah, it kind of has a sour note to me to begin with. And being happy is, most of you have heard me say I'd rather be happy than right. And, you know, which means that if it's gonna cause a big old, you know, brouhaha, it's like, phew, take it, you know, I just would rather be happy and just you believe what you believe, I believe what I believe, and let's just, how's the song go? Let's, anyway, and
Let's call the whole thing.
let's call the whole thing off. Yeah.
It took me a minute to get there. I was like,
Yeah, when my mom said, I agree with this lady, you know, that.
Barbara, yeah.
Barbara, that the past generation said lots of shit and they had no understanding what they were talking about, but they were just kind of reiterating what their family has said, and so they were just carrying on the negativity and everything. And when my mom said something negative to me, it didn't even sound like something negative, it sounded like a witch curse.
Yeah.
So I feel cursed in some instances to this day, and I'm trying my damnedest to get over it, but I need help.
Okay, well, that's one of the things, we have some tools that we're gonna learn today to do that, some meditations and stuff. And so Jonathan, did your question get answered? No, okay. So, it has to do with righteousness and happiness are not
And I
not
guess,
equatable.
yeah, the reason why is it reminds me of this analogy of where somebody who's taking drugs and shooting up heroin or something, they get a burst of happiness from that activity, but it's not the right thing to do. It's something that they're doing for pleasure, for happiness, seeking that high, that dopamine release in their brain. And it's not the way to being righteous, and that's at least the way I've interpreted it. I don't know if I'm wrong with that. So.
Well, and happiness is you know, it can be so many different things, but, you know, a certain amount of contentment. But righteousness is right off the bat, you know, if the word is like, you are right regardless of the.
Holiness.
Yeah,
I think righteousness comes from ego. I think people who think that they're righteous, you know, I'm the only one, I have the only answers, to me,
Yeah.
that's an ego.
we can separate the kids from the bed because it's, God said we could, and that's the righteous thing to do.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Corky, being right means you're making the other person wrong. So this is divisive. Righteousness is a word right use instead of being better than. So if you're doing it right, you're using it right. In other words, you're being correct in your functions.
Okay, good.
So
That's a good-
there's a difference between being right in a discussion and making someone else wrong, and being correct in how you're discussing it.
Huge.
You can be correct and be happy, you can't be right and be happy.
Yeah,
Good.
exactly,
Gotcha.
thank you.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so, I believe they're just so unequatable.
Yeah.
It's kind of, that's the end of the story, is that, no, they're not equal.
The trick is, look up the dictionary definition of these words. Then you'll find out where people are really coming from. They don't understand the definition.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
The word belief.
I might be perpetuating that myself, but I was more interested in the meaning of it, what it means to be high energy, what it means to be what they would call, what I guess society calls holiness. What does that actually mean? Like, what does it mean to be, for example, you said that those spiritual entities are very low vibration. What exactly does that mean? Are you saying?
The earthbound entities.
So are these?
Okay,
earthbound?
so like the difference between your spirit guide and an earthbound entity. Okay, your spirit guide has its own energy, so it won't be taking anything from you.
Right.
It has no agenda. It is at your beck and call. And so if you need help, it's there to help you. If you don't need help, it stands by. So it's not trying to make you do anything. Where an earthbound entity, oftentimes it has their own agenda. They may want to drink, they may want to have sex, they may want to, there's any number of things that they want to use your body to do.
They're needy.
And, you know, or maybe just to make themselves feel alive, so to speak. So, but a spirit guide will never do that. They're there to be your assistant, as your assistants.
What would you call that spiritual guide? Like, what type of energy? Would you call that holiness? Like, what is the official term for that?
Holiness, that's not a term that I use.
I would use
so-
righteousness. That's probably the wrong word. So what do you recommend?
There's no right or wrong, I mean, it's what it means inside of you, right?
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand what it
This
is
is
you're,
gone philosophical, isn't it?
yeah, I don't, you know, it depends.
It's very subjective.
I don't, holy is,
We're all holy. We're all holy children of God.
you know, I don't quite, what is it, I don't quite understand what the question
Well, I was
is.
just trying to equate, like, for example, if you're trying to become happy versus if you're trying to become, I always saw a difference between somebody who's trying to become more high vibration and remove themselves from that equation of being attached to lower entities. It has nothing to do with the emotional aspect of it. Like, I never equated emotions as being a part of high vibration or being a part of the deity realm or being a part of the angelic realm, as you would call it. I would call that more as the current, a lot of people I've met though have told me they have equated their emotions as how they feel to be what makes up what they call high vibration, where I've met more Buddhist monks and everything where they focus on more of the traditional Zen routes, which is about removing themselves from that emotional equation and focusing more on the reaching peace in your
Well, I
body.
think that you might find people who are very religious might be content and not happy, but content. because, you know, yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe your class will answer it as you get into it.
Yeah,
Just go on.
I don't, yeah, once you come to me,
Yeah, of
after,
course,
I mean,
I'm
why don't we
sorry,
talk
I didn't,
after?
I'm sorry for this, I didn't.
Yeah,
No, I think it's
Yeah,
very
it's an
interesting.
interesting thing, but I don't see that, there again, if you're content and that's a level of happiness. And I would rather have a life of being content. If I can't be happy, I'll be content. You know, I would love to be happy and that high vibration where you're, you know, but you don't wanna be, manic depressive either, you know, you know, cause I kind of equate the being highly spirited is being kind of manic. I don't know. Well, let's talk later about that. And then, you know, maybe if any of you can help him with that, you know, I'm sure that he would take your ideas too. But one of the things I want to talk about is white light. Because in our group, you know, white light is like, we know that that's the one thing that really protects you. It's like your immune system, your physical immune system. You know, you know that if you eat right, get plenty of sleep, you know, and your energy is high, that even if there's people that are around you that are sick, that your immune system will prevent you from being ill. But if you let your guard down and you're tired and you haven't been taking your vitamins or whatever, then you're susceptible to the illness, right? So just like that, your aura is your immune system when it comes to the psychic world. And so as you keep your aura strong, then that is what prevents you from being psychically attacked. Okay. With the caveat that if a train is coming and you're standing on the tracks, your aura is not going to help you.
That's right.
There comes a time when you have to know when to get off the tracks, okay? So it is like your ultimate protection and with your guidance and your participation also. Did you have a question? Do I see movement over there? Anyway, so this is the one thing that the white lighters, you know, as they call the New Age thought, is that, you know, the white light is great and it's necessary and it really is your first defense. But you have to know when to
Augmented.
move off the tracks. Okay, so be sure. Okay, so how do you keep your aura strong? So let's talk about that. Let's see. Have I talked about that? Anyway, so one of the things that you need to do. Oh, there's near the end there. There is. I don't have the preventing psychic attack. And it should be near the end. So it looks like this. And so, and some of these,
It looks like this. It's behind page. No, it's behind page 7 or 7 of the chapter.
yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't.
It's in blue.
Okay, yeah, so I love this where it says, fold your arms around your, across your solar plexus and your ankles. So, that would be, go like this, and like that.
Cross your
Or
ankles.
this.
Yeah, cross your ankles, yeah. And there's also, you can use this to kind of protect you too. And so that's the way you don't kind of like they consider that to be like first aid. You know, so cross your ankles and if you're sitting in at the office and all of a sudden somebody's throwing you bad energy, you can do this. And you can learn to create a shield for your
White light. My sister Holly says, surround yourself with white
With
light,
the white light, yeah.
you know?
And then there's jump into a bright, shiny, new trash can and pull the lid over it.
I like that.
Now, that's, the person who wrote that, I mean, that came out of a book on psychic protection. They were talking about putting yourself in a can. and pulling it. But I think you can also do it mentally.
Was it Oscar from Sesame Street?
Right, exactly, exactly. And carry an Apache chair, black obsidian, and stand in her shower. That's Dottie's favorite. That's how she protects herself. Every morning she stands under the shower and managing that's the white light that is totally surrounding her and penetrating into her body and protecting her. And spread yourself with sage,
Yeah.
and strengthen your aura, of course, and focus your thoughts on something happy. Because it's what I've experienced with working with dark entities is that they don't like it when you're happy. They don't like it when you're able to make fun of things and smile and be happy. So, and that also raises your vibration, so that is very good for keeping your aura strong. Is because you can feel when you're unhappy, and you've got that kind of like, oh man, it was a rough day, and you can feel yourself get heavy, and that your aura is slowing down, and if you become depressed or unhappy, or if it if it goes for a long period of time, then you can get down there where it's vibrating at the 200 cycles per second, and you can
Drag everything down with you.
and get attacked. That's how you get attacked. I mean, I had one of the reasons that I started studying the psychic protection is because I don't know if you guys that work in this area with metaphysics, it seems like you get one client and then all of a sudden you get 20 clients that have the same thing happening. And I had a barrage of people that were having all sorts of psychic attacks. And of course they would come in and they'd say, you're my last hope. I've lost my job, I've lost my relationship, I've lost everything, and you're the only thing I have left. It's like,
Well, thanks for there.
So, do you remember what it feels like to be energized? I don't know. Well, then how will you know when you get there? You need to have a reference. How do you know that things are bad? Or people come in and they would say, well, my parents didn't treat me right. Well, you're a child. How do you know if your parents are treating you right or not? I don't know. Sometimes you have to give people a little break.
They didn't treat me the way I wanted them to treat me, is what they're saying.
Well, and as an adult, you look back and you go, that wasn't right. Well, I'm sure they were doing the best job they could.
They try to keep you from sticking that there piece of metal in the electric socket. Kid.
How
Come
dare
on.
you, yeah. Anyway, so one of the things you need to do is you need to be very strong and keeping your energy up, and that's how you protect your aura and keep your aura strong. Remember, just think of it as that's vibrating, and the faster it vibrates, it's like it becomes a wall, and that nothing can penetrate it if you keep it up. And so that's part of the. Even if you're things that are happening bad around you, doesn't mean that you have to be depressed about it. I mean, you can be, well, that's, you can say, that's unfortunate that it happened, but, be of good cheer, know that you're, this is one of those things that could play into the whole religious thing, that you're one of God's people, that you're part of God, and that it will all work out. Having a positive attitude really does create positive things happening. And so, and that's another thing about metaphysics, that if something's wrong, then that means you've created it, that it's your fault that things are wrong. And I really don't buy that either. But I do know that if you keep a positive attitude and start and look on the bright side, that things are not as bad as they appear. But if you're gloomy and feeling depressed, then things are just shit. I mean, things are just terrible, and they just get worse and worse. And so that's kind of a choice that you make. You know, are you going to let the world beat you down and participate in that? Or are you going to let yourself, give yourself a chance to be in a better place? Have you guys experienced that too, where
Yes.
when you're down, things are, it's like you get kicked when you're down?
There's situations that happen that you're not responsible for. The only thing you are responsible for is your experience of that situation.
How you deal with it.
How do you deal with it, and how you choose to deal with it is your problem, not theirs.
Right.
And if you choose to deal with it with depression, that's your choice. Now get out of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll give you
You can
20
choose
minutes
to do
and
that too.
I used to say, I'll give you one more piss and one more moan, and that's all you get.
That's it, you're done. Yeah, I think that, you know, I have to go back to always, to me, an attitude of everything happens for a reason. So when something, especially if it goes against, like something happens and you hit a blockade about it, and
Yeah.
you can either take defeat, or you can say, you know, there's a reason why this door didn't open for me, because there's something over here that I didn't see.
Right.
So opening your periphery, not being, you know, blindsided as to what it is that you're looking at. And that's where, when I was talking last week about I'll see it when I believe it, is, you know, you can't just focus and say, this is what I want, period, end of sentence, and ask how and everything else. You have to be open to being guided and know that sometimes when something happens that appears to be in a negative space, you have to go, there's a reason for this. Maybe I'm being protected from an accident. I mean, like, one time I turned off the freeway the wrong way, and then I did a wrong turn, and I did something else, and I just went, you know what?
Yeah.
There's gotta be a reason for that. Later on, heard there was a 5-car pileup where I was
Yeah.
supposed to be. So, you know, you have to understand that sometimes it's just guidance leading you in a different direction.
Yeah, and another thing about being enlightened is that you'll find that as you become more and more enlightened, then you go through the intersection before the accident. That it's like you're just, you miss the mishaps. And it's,
You get a higher GPS.
yeah, that's your personal guidance system, exactly right. Which reminds me, we are going to see that movie, right? But it is also, I'd asked Mom once, and that's not a spirit guide, Mom, you know, what about being on your path? And this is the visualization, the visual that he gave me, is that if you're walking on your path, and I see all these people walking on their path, it's like, you know, it's a rolling hills and stuff like that. And if you look over there and say, that person, blah, blah, you know, it's, look at those clothes, look at that haircut, look at that takes you off your path. You're not moving forward on your path when you're looking at everybody else and trying to, and you know, saying that they're doing it wrong. They're fine, they're going along their path, they're evolving, you know, because they don't care what you say about them. But, you know, you're standing still. You're not evolving, you're not growing, and what are you doing for yourself when you're doing that sort of thing? So that was a lesson for me. It's like, don't, you know, another one with my mom, what will the neighbors think? I don't have time to worry about what the neighbors think. I'm evolving. If I'm going off, I'll be off my path if I have to worry about what they think I'm doing.
Right.
So just keep that in mind, that you are responsible for your evolution. You are responsible for how you deal with things. You know, they talk about that at the end of your life that you have the panoramic review. And what the panoramic review is.
It's scary.
It's how you made other people feel by your reactions, or it's, you see what you did, you know, how you responded to something, and then what that did, you know, what the reaction was, so it is kind of scary to think that you get to look at all the things that you did, because.
All at once even.
And, you know, it's like, I wanna think that people felt happy at the end. of our discussion.
I just have a question. Are we actually gonna work through the materials that you've
Yeah.
kindly-
Yeah, I'm kind of working through the first page,
Okay.
talking about the aura and that sort of thing. And another thing that I want to talk to you about is vampires, psychic vampires that sap your energy, and how easy it is to get taken in by the vampires, and that you don't always know them, and they're people that usually they befriend you, and they take your time and take your energy. And I'm sure everybody here has an example of when they were psychically attacked by an energy vampire. And so does everybody know what I'm talking about? You know, on your free time, you can read about the malicious gossip, and all those things sap your energy. Okay. And the energy vampires, and how they'll just suck you dry. Okay. And then going on to the astral plane, and how you when you're asleep and you're going. Does everybody understand what I mean when I say that when you experimented in the astral plane, when you're going to sleep and you travel?
Yep.
The astral plane. Be sure and have yourself white lighted then, as you're going to sleep, that you white light yourself, because that's like walking down a dark alley, in the worst part of town. Because the astral's where all of the lower level entities and stuff stay. Okay, so just beware to keep your light on all the time. Ask your guide, ask your guidance to help you with that. Okay. And then the last part of this, page 10 and 11, talk about signs of psychic attack, and that's something we were talking about a little bit earlier. All righty then. So, in order to, there's three things that prevent psychic attacks, prevent you from being psychically attacked, and that's your aura, prayer, and your thoughts. Okay, and another thing I wanted to talk about is that there's people that go, oh, you should put mirrors around yourself, and so that it reflects that if you're psychically attacked, that you get that you can reflect those energy bonds with mirrors. Okay. Yeah, that you can, but do you know that your aim is so good that it reflects back to the person who sent it? How do you know that it's going back to that person? How do you know that they sent it deliberately? Okay, so you can, what I would suggest you do is that you aim for the ground, is that you put it into the ground. That will nullify it, and make it, absorb. Well, it absorbs and it cleanses it.
Right.
It makes it so that it's not negative anymore. It neutralizes it. Thank you. So it's the best thing to do is to just don't fight back. Fighting back doesn't necessarily solve anything. It just keeps the fight going. So, and you don't know that you didn't send energy there first. When we go like that, we're flinging energy. If you pass somebody in the if you're at work and somebody spills their coffee and they're and you could take that as an attack if you didn't know that it's their thing, because it feeds over, especially if you're an empath, and it bleeds over, and so that you have to be aware that not every time you get attacked that it was personally meant, it wasn't that it was meant for you, that it was on purpose, and that you need to stand up for yourself and nobody can do that to you. So it's better if you can just kind of wait a minute, protect yourself from being attacked. You can put up your mirrors, have them so that they, instead of reflecting back to where the energy came from, that you put it in the earth so that it can be neutralized. And you can usually find out who attacked you by going within. There's a process we're gonna go through in a minute where you can, if you're, has everyone here been psychically attacked? You think,
Yeah.
you think you have?
You know,
Okay, so good, then you'll have some stuff to work on. And,
I'm not sure if I have, I've been physically attacked.
okay, well, you'll know,
Yeah.
because you know, your solar plexus is very,
Intuitive.
it's tattletale. And, so we'll go through that process in a minute. And, so in your thought forms, you know, we attack ourselves with our thoughts and with our feelings. And by holding grudges and feeling guilty and all the things, I mean, I really think those are human emotions. And, but you don't have to go, you know, you can go, oh, boy, I feel bad about that, I'm sorry I did that. And then, you know, go, okay, I forgive myself, thank you, bye. You know? Does everybody know what a pono is? Oh, pono, Jonathan, do you know what that is?
What is it?
Ho'oponopono.
What she said. Okay, what is it? Please forgive me, I forgive you, I love you. It's a Hawaiian, it's a huna technique.
Okay.
It's a forgiveness technique, and what it means is to make it right on both sides. That's what pono
Make it
means.
pono, yeah.
Yeah, make it pono, so make it good for pono, so good.
Yeah, if you get a chance to do any work with Becca does it, yeah.
And Julie Hawkins.
And Julie Hawkins, and you know, and you can get it from the internet and stuff, and it's really good for forgiveness if you're having trouble with
Forgiving yourself.
forgiving yourself, and you know, say you've had an argument with somebody and you feel like you you just that you start thinking about it, and well, I wonder why they did that. What is it? And you can't stop thinking about them. And it's, well, I wonder what they're doing. You know, it's, oh, they must be. You know, I can't stop thinking about them, and so I must be under attack. Because you know, why am I thinking about them all the time? I never thought about them all the time before we had this argument, and now I can't stop thinking about them. You're attacking yourself. They may not be thinking about you. They may, you know, but and there's another. We're doing an exercise that will help us detach from that too. Yeah.
I have the exact words. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. That's
Yeah.
it.
Okay,
So
and the please forgive me, when you're doing Ho'oponopono, the person is not present, you're working with their energy. The please forgive me is really not expecting them to forgive you, it's expecting your perception to change, I think, and it's almost a forgiving of yourself. Do you agree with me, Smitty?
It is forgiving yourself.
It's forgiving yourself.
It's forgiving yourself for being upset with it.
Right, right.
Please, could you leave the door open?
Paul, leave the door open, please.
Want me to leave it open?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So if when you're having those kind of, you know, it's usually a co-worker, a family member, or somebody who's close to you, because those are the kind of people you seem to get that kind of grinding with. You know, do some pono.
Ho'oponopono.
Pono.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh, pono.
Oh,
So that's highly recommended too, because it works very well. Okay,
It's also a great way to cut ties with somebody.
yeah, and we'll do that too. So, do you want somebody to spell it for you so you can, okay, because that really is an excellent tool.
Want me to spell it?
No, she said no, it's okay, thank you. Okay, so, does anybody have any questions about energy vampires?
I
Anybody?
Question, could it be like my brother attacking me psychically
Yeah,
when I was younger?
absolutely.
Sure.
yeah.
And how does that relate to a sibling rivalry, which may have been
It's
the whole motive behind it, but it's like I have one brother, I'm the oldest of 4, so I have brother number 3, but we just never got along. As adults, we get along okay, but if it ever starts to feel like I'm getting to that place, I just kind of distance myself or
So are you
just
interested
agree.
in a technique of how to resolve that with?
Yeah, it's called I Moved from Ohio to California.
Done!
That works.
Sometimes it happens to me that I'm trying to help somebody and I can see that it's just going too far. And I need to, at one point when I recognize that, just kind of detach and set a boundary and slow, very nicely and gently kind of break
Yeah.
away from it, you know?
Yeah.
And like, okay, I've helped you so much here, but now I.
Yeah, if you start to resent it, then it's time to quit.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you do if the energy vampire person is part of your family that you have to engage
You have to
with?
separate yourself, yeah. Oh, you mean that you have to,
That you have to, at certain occasions, like family get-togethers and things like that?
okay, what I do,
How do you manage?
okay, what I do is I allot them a certain amount of energy. Say, okay, I'm gonna let you have this. You know, I'll let you have 10%.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in my mind, I go, okay, I know this is gonna happen, that they're gonna get me in a corner, and they're gonna go, and I'm gonna, and I don't wanna be rude to this person, okay? So when it happens, you say, okay, here it is, and, you know, like maybe, say, okay, here it comes, so start filling yourself up with it. It's like a little meditation. You feel the energy coming down from source, and you might even want to do this before you go. Create
You
a-
do wanna do it.
Create a conduit from source that's coming down through your crown chakra, and it's surging into your solar plexus. Okay, because that's your emotional thing there. It's in your solar plexus. You know you're going to have to talk to them, so do your throat chakra. Be sure and fill your heart up, because you want to do this with compassion. Okay, and you're going to, and be sure and get your what is the red one? What is that chakra called? Anyway, your first chakra.
Survival.
Because survival,
Yeah.
because you're going to want to run.
Yeah.
And so you just go, okay, we're not going to run. We're going to,
chakra.
you know, and so just kind of talk to all your parts. Say, you know, we're going to be calm. We're going to, you know, it's only for an hour. We're going to be fine. And they're going to hurt my feelings, but you don't have to take, you know, yeah, you can just, you know, you can either make yourself.
Be a duck.
Oh, and you know what else you can do? You can put a bell jar over you. You know what a bell jar is? It's like the cone of silence. Except that,
Mason jar.
yeah, so
Yeah.
you put that over in our pyramid, and that protects you from any of the energy that's coming in. So you kind of walk in there with your extra strong aura. So you start working on this before, you know, like, okay, Thanksgiving's gonna be hell, you know, because everybody's gonna be there, and, you know, so-and-so just divorced, and so they're gonna be talking about that, and, you know, all this stuff.
Can you ever actually tell that person, you know, how they affect you and
Sure.
because I'm not looking for a situation where I'm gonna, you know, start a war
Right.
between two people, but I think that a lot of people don't realize that what they are doing is draining you.
If you have that kind of relationship with that person, you know, if you think that they would take it well.
Because sometimes I think what we communicate to other people is, we very often don't know how that comes across.
That's for sure.
Mhm.
Absolutely. You're 100% correct.
And I think it's helpful in certain ways, you know, to tell that person, just be truthful with them and like,
Mhm.
I have a.
That's always a technique. To be truthful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corky, I wanted to share this because when I was doing a lot of transmediumship, I ran into a problem with an entity trying to take over. And this led me to the person who started this church before this, or the Psychic Institute, BPI. So I had picked up a hitchhiker in a pour down, and he wanted to go to Younger Street, and BPI was on East Younger at that time. So I demonstrated transmediumship for them, and they taught me grounding. Grounding is number one, connect to the earth, and then put up your, it's not even called protection, it was called filters. So one of the tools they use are roses. They also use mirrors, but mirrors would be return to sender. That's not the kindest way. But your own field, as Corky is saying, your own vitality, your own sense of your own sacredness is your true protection. Your knowledge that you are connected with the divine every single second of every experience. But, you know, in practicality, you ground, you put up your filters.
Yeah.
So that you really faced only with your own energy, you see where you want to correct your own negativity perhaps, and you don't have to buy into somebody else's, because
You put that so well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
having been there,
What did you say?
Been there, done that, yeah.
What did you say about roses? Did you say roses?
yes,
You said
roses, any kind of roses,
Okay,
And then
a
after a while,
visualization of it,
right.
you blow up the rose. I also was at BPI,
sure.
Berkeley Psychic Institute. After a while, when the rose is looking kind of limp because it's taken so much negative energy from your family member, blow it up and put up a fresh one. You can stick it over the ocean, blow it up, or into the earth and blow it up. But I wouldn't tell my sister, you are a psychic vampire. I wouldn't go with that.
You have to find a way to express it in a certain way. But what does Angie say, you know, ground, clear, balance, and protect, right? So you want to go in there grounded, you know, because grounding connects you, like Barbara was saying, connects you into the earth and keeps you sturdy, keeps you steady. And to clear means, you know, you don't carry in old prejudices, old angers, you know, clear that away, open up to the love that you really have for them. Be in the pure love, be in the pure love, be in the pure love always. And then keeping yourself in balance in that energy, and then protecting yourself with the white light, or by buffing up your aura, or whatever you know, however you're stating it. But there's many different tools to use to stay in the right place, and then you can say something like, when you speak to me this way, it makes me feel very drained. Now, you can say that without saying you're an energy vampire. You know, there's a way to state it without it creating being accusing, or, you know, you're just stating, this is the way it makes me feel. You know, can we find a different way to communicate?
Yeah, it's like what I would tell my mother, I know I would appreciate it if you wouldn't say that, because my subconscious mind doesn't know that you're not calling me stupid. Right, so if you have that kind of relationship with somebody, with your family member, then you, I mean, I'm an only child, so I'm kind of limited when it comes to how to deal with
Siblings and things.
family. Yeah, so, anyway, does that help?
That's really helpful.
Might I make a suggestion? In my situation, when I ran into that circumstance in my family, when I had all I could take in that situation, I would excuse myself and go to the bathroom, recharge.
Yeah. You can do that
Build the
too.
ammo back up, build the armor back up, recharge the energy and come back out and let them have another 10% of the energy.
Yeah. Yeah, so then, excuse me for a minute, yeah, Jonathan?
Well, I just wanted to also give my own take on it.
Okay.
One way that I've done is I've always just changed the topic. So, like, so if I know that was going to be a negative topic, I would focus on a positive topic that we had relationships with.
Yeah, there again, it depends on the circumstances. Yeah, so yeah, you can be direct and hope that works. And, or you can, you know, you can be, yeah, I think these are really good suggestions.
You can deflect what you're talking about to something else.
Yeah, so what do you think would work for you, for this person? Are you gonna have to experiment and?
I think it has more to do with my own issue of actually saying what I feel and what I, you know, I think that's the real issue behind it.
That you feeling like you have that you have the right to do it, or that how they would respond to you if you did it?
Yeah, that's really the question, because I know how powerful words are, and once they're released, you can't take them back. And so it's, you know, I want to be able to do it in a loving, you know, compassionate, charitable way. but at the same time, I think what happens for me is that there's a lot of anger that builds up because I just keep suppressing what it is that I need
yeah.
to say.
You know, another thing that you might play with is, in NLP, you can do, set the setting, see yourself in that situation, you know, and then there's, the Silva technique, where you would go into, put yourself in a meditative state, go into a theater, and then see it play out on a screen. You know, put yourself in that situation with that person, go through the part of the conversation that you pretty much know how it would start, and then you get to that place where you wanna speak to them, and then say what you wanna say. Because you can always do that on the astral, you know, on your higher consciousness speaking to their higher consciousness. And you may not, because as you say, you know, your words are an action, and they never dissipate because it's energy, and energy never dissipates. So once the words are out, that's it. And thoughts are like that too. You know, sometimes you have those thoughts that you know are like physical. You can just feel them, and you know they are real things that go out into the universe, and it's out there. I mean, we can, you know, things that Jesus said are still moseying around. You know, that vibration is still out there, or any of the great people. Well, because God spoke and created. I didn't want to bring religion into this, but our politics. But anyway, yeah.
I have a question about how do you distinguish between what is theirs and what is yours? Because that for me is a real central question. You know?
Yes, it is.
It's, if I'm affected by something that they do, you know, that is my stuff, and the way I handle that situation is how I resolve that. But how do you actually tell what's, you know, what belongs to them as an energy vampire, or whatever label one gives to it, and what is yours, and what is actually happening in that interaction?
Well, that's a
That for
great
me is-
question.
That for me is
That
often
is a great
confused.
question.
Yeah, meditation.
Fabulous question.
Okay, so my answer is meditation. Jonathan, anybody have any suggestions?
Yeah, just from my own take on this, I don't know, I'm not saying this is right by any means, but it sort of reminds me of the same concept, like whatever happens in a country such as China or something, it affects the whole world, and affects all the societies, no matter what country or what label that you put it on. So in that same sense, I think at the very highest level, of the very highest vibration level, we are all collectively as the same, part of the same thing, the same group, or whatever you want to call that. But right now, we are sort of like the countries. We exist with our own egos and our own identities. Whatever you associate yourself with and as being who you are, you should defend that until you get to that utopia society where you have heaven on earth, or heaven within you, where you're a part of the greater picture. And that's how I've been able to handle that situation. In essence, it comes down to who you are and how you characterize yourselves.
I mean, because like if it's a political thing, you might say, you know, can we agree not talk about it? You know, because there's, or, you know, it depends on, if it's something that you can agree on, that it's just, you have two different minds, and that there's no point in us discussing it, because I'm not gonna change you, I don't wanna change you, you're not gonna change me, and so can we just not talk about that, you know, change the subject or whatever. Or if it's something that you know is gonna come up, and they're, you know, that you either ask them not to talk about it, that you have no intention of talking about it, thank you very much. You can go into a space of meditation and have the, you know, like go into your solar plexus, and I mean, that's one of the exercises that I have for us today, is to write down the names of the people that you feel have attacked you, or that might be attacking you, or will be, and this person would be on that list. What is their intention? You go into your solar plexus, and you sit with it and say, what is their intent? Then there's a list of things you ask, and we'll be doing that in a minute or so. So does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, we'll get to that. Okay. Yes, Carol?
One technique I've learned is you can put up a body of glass, sort of like taking your body and putting it up on a screen in front of you, a body of glass, and then ask the question, where are other people's energy in my space, and see what lights up, you know, and probably ask your questions. I haven't seen your questions yet.
Right.
But if you could just set for that session, a body of glass, you know, what is the question?
So you like there's a body of glass, there's lights on the,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what shows up,
I haven't
you
heard
know,
this one.
you could do different things, you know, with the body of glass, but just take your body of glass and put it out in front of you and say, okay, now show me, you know, where I've got other people's energy. Oh, my right shoulder has red, you know, energy, that's
Oh,
something
that's
to get rid
useful.
of. Yeah. Just something.
I'll use that. Thank you.
Or you follow the cord, you see where there's a cord connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cords are
You can
great,
feel it
yeah.
immediately. And the basic foundation is we're here to know who we are. Know thyself. And it's real easy to know when there's foreign energy in your space. We are all of one on the highest level, but this is a play on earth. We're here for the illusion.
Yeah, and with the chords, so are you familiar with the chords? When, you know, that the chords are like, whatever it
They're
works for you.
connectors.
Yeah, they could be like bungee cords, or they could be like limbs off a tree, or what, you know, whatever works for you.
They're on that emotional
Yeah,
level.
and the chords are from places,
Mental and emotional.
events, thing, you know, like Left Your Heart in San Francisco, or, you know, where, all kinds of those sorts of things. You can get them from anywhere, you know, a pet or whatever, and it could be stuck anywhere on any of your chakras. You know, because we have more than just the 7, we have them all over our body, so it could be anywhere. But usually it's, you know, like your heart, or your third eye, or your throat, or solar plexus, or whatever. And these are people, places, and things from the past, from the current, and from the future. And what you do is you send out, you go, okay, so I have an ex-spouse, let's say, and I can feel them tugging at my heart. Okay, so you wanna cut off that detach. So you ground, and you get into a meditative state, and you go out and you want to take your cords from them and give them back the cords you have of theirs. And it all goes through a rainbow filter, so that when you take the cord, you know, and sever it, and
Pull it out.
and then you put a salve of Teflon there so that it can't go back in. So you're taking that person's cord and you sever it, and then make it so that it can't be replaced. You send it through a rainbow filter so that all of your parts, anything that belongs to you, stays with you, and they get that piece back cleanly. And then you take back from them what they took of yours. Bring it in through the rainbow filter, you know, and so you've got that piece in your heart that used to belong to that person, and now it's back in your heart. And then expect a call from them, because they'll go, something happened, you know, there's something going on. You know, when you do this, it's a very tangible thing, and they can feel it. But you know, you might want to detach from your hometown, or from a place you worked, or maybe your bank. Maybe you hate your bank. Well, you want to detach from that, so that you don't have to hate that anymore. You want to get that feeling out of there. That's not a good feeling for yourself. So that's the way you do the chords. And then and you have to do it more than once, because they reattach. And even though you have that Teflon there, you know, they can go, I can find a place, you know, and they'll reattach. I have all these visuals of, you know, like it's an octopus arm looking for you, and, you know, and it gets right. Sorry, don't mean to be doing that to you.
Thank you.
And so yeah,
So when you cut those cords with those people, does the relationship then shift?
Yes,
Yes,
Mhm.
it does.
yes
It
it does.
physically shifts. You'll think, they'll think.
And if you're trying to let go of them, you'll find that they'll try to come back in they may feel the severing,
Yeah.
and they may try to come back in. And then it's up to you to keep yourself in,
Continue.
and to continue to keep yourself in that
Let
energy.
me tell you, a client I was working on who was a chef, and she worked with a chef, and he was so mean to her. And, I mean, she was like the sous chef, and was always, rah, 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 you know, just micromanaging and, oh, you never do a good enough job and stuff. And she had come during her lunch break, she wanted to know, why did she have this relationship with this person? That's so, she wants to work there, but he treats her so badly. And so she came in to my office, and we did a past life regression. And it turned out that they had been twins, and they had been nobility. And he wanted to take over the family business, you know, he wanted to be king. But it turns out, well, and he was trying to kill his sister, all of their, as they were growing up. He kept, you know, trying to kill her, but she was just hardy. Anyway, so she moved out so that he could have, you know, she didn't want to fight with him. And then he, years later, he contacted her and said, why don't you, you know, let's put our forces together. And when she did, he killed all of her people. And so it was, you know, there was this past life where they had this more than, I mean, just a horrible relationship, and horrible things happened between the two of them. And she killed him. And then she killed herself. Okay, so she did that during her lunchtime. She went back to work, and he said, what happened? Where did you go? You know what? I think that something's changed. And within a week he quit. You know, because the
From
relationship.
just her awareness of that?
Yeah, just her awareness of that, and forgiving that, and being able to, you know, evidently, they didn't even know it, but they've been carrying it with them, or she's been carrying it with her, and evidently he carried it with him too, because immediately he knew something had changed, to the point where he had no control over her anymore, and it made him quit, because he no longer had that control over her. And it's, I mean, who would think that would be cause that kind of ripple effect? So, all this stuff is real,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and so it's, I don't know, have we given you too much?
No.
Okay.
Basically,
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to handle stuff, and, you know, some are like pulling teeth, and the other one are like, you know, something that's very soothing, and lots of things in between. Okay, it's been an hour and a half, let's take a break.
Are we gonna have a break?
Right.